Hi, good morning. Thank you so much and a blessed morning to join us today, right, at a very interesting topic about 5G and IoT use cases. And today we have two esteemed, very experienced speaker on this topic to join us today, right? So without further ado, right, I just want to quickly thank you again for joining. You'll be on mute only, right? But on this particular platform, you can actually feel free to ask your question, especially something that related to your industry or your company. Do turn up your volume for your speaker so that you can hear me loud and clear. And if you cannot see the slide in the screen, our team members are here to help you technically, right? And the most important thing, don't forget, we are spending a lot of time and money to prepare this for you. Please fill in the survey form because we want to hear a little bit more about you so that we can improve ourselves for upcoming content. At the same time, also, we want to thank you so much for joining and listening in today. Right? Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to start. We're going to respect your time. We're going to start sharp. All right. I want to start with sharing a little bit about who we are, right? I think the most important part is that a lot of people ask me about my title. My title is Chief Opportunity Creator, right? You see it correctly. The reason because we wanted to create opportunity for you. And that's the reason why in this particular webinar, you'll notice that we do not share about product, we do not share about solution, but we share about use cases. And then we want to cater very specific use cases to your industry. And then some of you actually join in from other countries outside of Malaysia. We thank you again for joining. We wanted to brainstorm together with business owner. I think some of you are doctor, right? Tan Suri, really appreciate for joining. We want to really brainstorm together and to see how can some of the use cases realign back to something that you can be used in your company to enhance your offerings to your client, your customer. Why it is so important? Your counterpart in the Asian region, in this particular survey of 2021, you can see that 20% of the budget is being allocated for special project and digital transformation. And a lot of industry, including especially could be construction, property, manufacturing, right, is starting to look into IoT platform. And in many countries in Asia, 5G will be evolving and moving on rapidly. So your counterpart today is moving on. And then interesting, you can see that from a 2019, the budget of IT 50% is now reduced much less to 20+%. Right? So it means that the transformation is very real in the region here. From the priority, a lot of you talk to us and say, hey, Gavin, out of the 500 business owner, CEO, CFO in the region, Southeast Asia region, right? You guys said, hey, we wanted to transform to the cloud. Using the cloud as a native foundation to move forward for my particular offering to enable two key things, right? Digital transformation and to make sure that my security and my application will be better, right? These are the key asks today, right? And of course, in the multiple series that we have, we are going to talk about a bit more about AI in the future. We're going to talk about a bit more of application. In the first series, we talk about business recurring revenue. This is the second series where we talk about 5G and IoT. So we listen from the audience here, right? In this particular region and even Malaysia. And then you guys also mentioning that, hey, after 2020, where the whole thing is being transformed, application has been a very key priority for the transformation, right? So modernization application, moving application to cloud native platform, including leveraging of microservices has been very key portion on that, right? And that's the reason why in this particular webinar series, we'll be doing a lot of this kind of portfolio, right, to share a bit more insight how you're able to move forward for your particular organization, right? And of course, a lot of people like you have started to move to cloud, right? A lot of people are moving to cloud. Very few people, 6%, only 6% or less, is said that, hey, we are not focused on cloud. The cloud, again, as you know, is not a technology. Cloud is not a destination, right? But cloud is a methodology, cloud is a connected a bunch of network platform for you to able to move much more agile, especially for your business. And IoT, and of course a lot of application, it doesn't go far, where if you put on a cloud platform, you are able to move much more agile. So who are we? So Clarify Asia, today we are a proud partner of Microsoft. We also a proud partner of Alibaba Cloud and also Dell Technology and Hewlett Packard Enterprise, right? We are actually the appointed vendor for these companies. So basically, we provide services for Microsoft, we provide services for Hewlett Packard, and then they will provide the particular services to you or even to organization. So we are the expert of the expert, and we are also the providers for a lot of cloud service provider in the region. And also we have quite a number of extensive portfolio helping telecommunication industry to adopt the cloud native platform. All right. We are also a distributor for three software, cloud software in the region, Cloud Azure and Current from US, and Wipro from Sweden, right? So that you're able to better adopt in the multi-cloud journey that you have. These are some of the high overview portfolio. Today is not about us, today is about you. But I just want to share that what we do is that one of the key work we want to do is actually put in IoT collection and also to put AI on the edge, right, which is on the bottom left, so that you were able to adopt that particular platform. Today, we are partnering with Microsoft, especially on Azure Percept, right, which is something very new, announced a couple of weeks ago, to able to put AI on your edge. This is actually currently on a private preview. So if you have any particular workload that require AI on the edge using a Microsoft platform, do contact us, do contact me personally. We will love to talk to you because we are selecting only one particular customers to do this POC together with Microsoft globally, right? And then we are very excited if you have such a use case to you. We are also proud partners of Microsoft to build a very complex cloud platform for government, even for some of the large corporate institutions, especially on Microsoft Azure Stack Hub, right? On the bottom right, where you put the cloud literally in the office, right? And of course, we also work with many other telecommunication partners and also cloud providers to provide a cloud native platform nearer to you, right? So this is what we do, right? So instead of you focusing on what is needed, we will choose the right cloud platform for you so that you will able to focus on business growth, right? Okay. So today I'm very blessed to have Mr. Jeffrey Ong. Mr. Jeffrey Ong is a group managing director of a public listed company, Flexiroam. Flexiroam, if you have not heard of Flexiroam, Flexiroam is a global telecommunication company listed in Australia company. They have been transforming roaming industry for many years, even before people are actively traveling. I know because I'm one of the consumer, one of the customers very early of the days of Flexiroam. They have moved on very much today, and also now focusing a lot of IoT. And also we have Mr. Devendra Singh. Mr. Devendra Singh comes from a very extensive background from AWS, Wipro, and also today Microsoft. Is leading a bunch of a very intellectual cloud solution team, and he has very intentional experience as well as part of a Microsoft team to provide use cases on behalf of Microsoft on that. All right. So without further ado, I want to pass this to Mr. Devendra Singh to share you a bit more about what is the 5G and what is IoT holds for you. Thank you. I'll pass it to Mr. Devendra.
Thanks, Kevin. And give me a second to share my camera and maybe the presentation as well. I hope everyone can see me. And here is the presentation. I hope everyone can see the presentation deck, right? Great. And Kevin, thank you very much for introducing myself. And thanks to all the attendees of this webinar. I'm really excited to talk about 5G, IoT, and how Microsoft Azure is bringing out that potential for the customers to adopt new way of leveraging technology and in a connected world like today, right? So gone are the times when we used to struggle with the connectivity piece, right? And I will be covering those interesting, important aspect with some uh, great and interesting examples as well, and that comes from my experience as well, right? So I'm pretty old, so I think I've seen the transition happening in different network technology, specifically in the telecommunication sector. So my name is Devendra Singh. I am a partner technology manager with Microsoft, and I lead a cloud solution architect practice for Microsoft. So in the next 20 minutes, we will be talking about 5G, we'll be talking about IoT, and how Microsoft Cloud is addressing or helping the customer create solutions around it. So let's start off with the basics, right? So I have seen the world starting because of my age. I'm again reiterating that. I've seen 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and now I am actually in 5G. So I've seen the days wherein the data connectivity was on, say, 16 kbps bandwidth, wherein only the voice was allowed to travel, right? No graphics, no web traffic, nothing, right? So I'm talking about 25 years from now. But gradually the technology has improved quite a lot. And today, if we compare that, I think we have achieved a stage wherein it is almost real time when you talk about different use cases, and I will be covering those in next few slides. But video, voice, right? The video calls, everything is so real time that you don't feel like any lag, any latency in that, right? And that has become possible due to 5G technology, which we are seeing, which is being adopted very heavily across the globe. Now, as far as the estimate goes, the 5G industry would be $225 billion industry. Now, when the industry is so big, right, all the telco players will be pushing 5G, very aggressively to all the consumers. And there are great advantages to this technology as well, right? And like the way European Commission has identified that 5G will be the most critical building block for the digital economy and the society in the next few years or next 10 years, right? So 5G will change the world we are connected today, for sure. Now, what 5G really brings, and all of us would agree, right? First, the bandwidth is amply available to the consumers, right? The latency in the network traffic is very low. And the connectivity is massive. So you do not have to wait for something, right? Everything is available to you. And some of the classic use cases, if we talk about how 5G is impacting, and most of us has been experienced almost on daily basis, is the video streaming. If you run a YouTube video, about around 5 or 6 years back, it was more around standard definitions, right? Which has moved to to HD with the advent of 4G, and now we are talking about streaming video, which can actually go up to 4K or 8K resolution as well. So technology, the telecom technology, which provides the backbone for all the internet activity, I think that's improving, and that is adding a good user experience as well. Same thing is applying for gaming industry, right? So lots of gaming companies are coming up with real-time or real life-like games, and because of the bandwidth availability, because of the latency, low latency in the bandwidth, and the connectivity, the available to the consumer, I think that is also picking up a pace. Self-driving car is another good example, right? And I will be talking about how it is different from a real, the IoT thing, and how we help the car to be more intelligent at the edge itself, rather than waiting for sending data to a centralized server and getting a response from it. But that's again a very interesting use case, and all the automotive companies are actually looking towards building car which is more intelligent, which can process data at the edge itself or within itself. So that's the way the industry is changing in terms of automotive. Same way, sensor, voice, smart city cameras. I think smart city cameras, it is bringing about that revolution, right? So all the countries are, even in the smaller malls, if you really talk about, or the construction industry, if you talk about, people are using smart cameras which can actually detect the person and can identify certain potential risks, or to track the activities happening in a particular location. So this has all been possible because of a good network which is provided by 5G. Now, if we categorize these use cases in certain industry and how the industries are getting impacted, you can clearly see a direct fitment in agriculture industry, energy sector, entertainment, healthcare, retail, smart city, transportation. So, 5G has got an impact on all the industry because this provides the backbone for all the activity we are doing, right? Let's pick an example of agriculture industry, right? So there are lots of activities happening, right? Agriculture industry, because the farms are huge and the farmers are getting lesser, right? Because everyone wants to move away from farming these days. But whosoever is managing large farm, it is practically or physically not possible for them to monitor the farm completely. Now there, the use case of a strong 5G solution with IoT enablement, which can really help the farmer, right, to automate most of the tasks, right? Just to avoid their bandwidth in terms of, say, doing the watering of the farm and maybe spraying the pesticide across, and also to look for opportunities wherein if any of their equipment is malfunctioning, can they do a predictive maintenance, right? So these are the use cases uh, which are actually a beautiful combination of the network, which is through 5G, and the IoT enablement. Likewise, entertainment is getting very, very interesting these days. I just gave an example. We are talking about 8K. And the resolution will further go up because of the technology enhancement in the video industry as well. Online gaming is another classic example. Now, one of the industry which is really seeing a good impact and which has got a social impact is the healthcare industry. Now, number of doctors are less, right? The doctors, the fees getting very, very high, right? Because the doctor has to pay for multiple things as well. And because the number of specialist doctors are less, 5G technology can actually really help the doctor to be reachable by a person who is sitting in a village and who needs a specialized attention or specialized advice on a medical condition, right? There is scenarios happen, and I was watching a YouTube video wherein a doctor who was sitting in US just for testing purposes, they used IoT, they used 5G network to operate a grape, because grape is a very soft fruit. So they did the stitches and all that stuff using robotic surgery. So this is the way the industry is changing. This is the way the healthcare is improving, right? And this is true with almost all the industry, right? Transportation, I just gave an example, right? The self-driving cars are coming up, right? And the traffic signals are being maintained by an automatic process by having that artificial intelligence into it. So in all, if you talk about 5G and IoT, I think all the industries can be captured through it. And specifically, if you talk about healthcare, it would be around $379 billion industry by 2024, which is 3-4 years from now. Same way, industrial automation can grow up to $239 billion industry in 2023. So all the industry have got very interesting use cases. Now, why this is important for Microsoft? So Microsoft brings about, the capacity, the intelligence to really use the IoT data, which is being pumped using a 5G network. So it's a combination of both, right? The 5G network, the IoT device, and the intelligent processing engine, which is provided by Microsoft in the form of Azure Cloud, which is intelligent cloud, and also the processing ability at the edge itself, so that if there is no connectivity between the cloud and the edge, the thing should still function. So 5G is a glue for connecting Microsoft Intelligent Edge and cloud, bringing compute and intelligence to the source. So this is very important. So we are touching, as Microsoft, as an organization, we are touching gaming, modern workplace, business application, artificial intelligence and data, right? Application and infrastructure. So we are covering all the aspects, and we are leveraging IoT and 5G to provide the right use cases. So let's talk about few use cases here, wherein how customers are using IoT on Microsoft platform and what are the advantages. So first one, I would like to talk about Johnson Control, right? So they have chillers, right, which provides a freezing technology to their equipments or to their warehouses, or to their storages, in fact. So they have made these chillers IoT enabled, right? Now what has happened is, their downtime, what they are seeing, the downtime has gone down drastically, because now the IoT sensors are sending the data that this particular chiller may go down in next few days. You need to do a predictive maintenance, right? And with that, they actually do it. Now, if you are already aware of what can go wrong in future and you do a predictive maintenance, your downtime is much lesser. And with that, they are saving approximately $300,000 in hourly downtime, right? So that's a big saving for them. Same way, I gave good examples of agriculture industry in the past slides, but Dunev is a farming company, and they are using IoT enabled, wherein they have placed the IoT sensors across the field to check the moisture in the in the soil. So if the moisture is dropping down to a certain level, automatically the field is being watered so that the moisture level can come up, and that has improved their yield overall, and that has also reduced the water consumption by 20%, which is a huge saving. The third is from Rolls-Royce, right? And airline industry depends upon the maintenance of the aircraft, and the most maintained part is the engine, right? And Rolls-Royce calculate that by a model called power by the hour. So they have calculated if a particular engine is down for 1 hour, how much is the impact, right? And they have added some IoT sensors there as well, just to alert the maintenance team that this particular engine is malfunctioning or probably needs a maintenance immediately. And with that, they have actually saved $250,000 dollars per plane per year. So that's a big saving when we talk about thousands of planes using Rolls-Royce engines. So IoT is helping the customers in different industries, and I've just picked few here, but I think these use cases are totally relevant to all the industries. Now, when we say IoT, right, and all of us understand that piece. So IoT has got typically three components. One is a device, which is a thing. Second, it sends lots of data, right, which needs to be processed. And third is some action has to be taken, some intelligent action has to be taken on that data, right? So suppose I'll try to relate this with an example. Suppose I have an IoT sensor which measures a temperature of a particular machine, and you have set up a threshold that if temperature goes beyond, say, 100 degrees centigrade, the system or the machine should be shut down to prevent any further damage, right? So how this will happen is, the thing, which is the sensor, IoT sensor, which is placed in that machine, will keep on sending data without any intelligence most of the time to a central processing server somewhere, right? Now this data will calculate the temperature, the current temperature of that machine. So it may fluctuate between 50 degrees centigrade or possibly 80 or something like that. Now, as long as the data is being sent to a central server, that processing will happen, and it will also track that whether the threshold of 100 degrees centigrade is being breached or not. If the 100 centigrade threshold is breached, automatically an action is sent back to the IoT sensor to stop the machine. So this is the way the complete cycle works here in an IoT scenario. Now, why cloud is important here is that, first of all, we are talking about huge number of such sensors. Each machine can have, say, hundreds of sensors, taking into consideration different parameters like temperature or the noise level or whatever, right, or the oil pressure, whatever. And we are talking about sending that huge amount of data into a central processing intelligent processing unit, and then taking back the actions from that. So you need a massive compute in the back end, massive availability of bandwidth to actually pump that data back into the centralized servers and then create an action out of it. So cloud actually brings lots of value add to IoT projects, right? But there are certain challenges as well, right? Because when we talk about sending data, security is a big challenge, right? It's getting into something on IoT takes time, right? Most of the infrastructure which people have already adopted may not be compatible. So compatibility issues are pretty prevalent. And it is always a challenge to scale when we talk about thousands of devices sending information to a central server. So you need a massive scale out there, right? So these are typical challenges, and I'll talk about how Microsoft has addressed this using Microsoft platform, right? So one is the productivity, which is we are open to any kind of device, we are open to any kind of device platform in terms of software, and we allow that to be integrated in Microsoft Azure, right? We operate in a hybrid model. We support hybrid model wherein we have intelligent cloud, which is a centralized logical entity available for our customers to use, but you can also work in a disconnected environment, which is you can actually do or maybe run the same kind of intelligence in an on-premises environment. So there would be certain scenarios wherein the customer would like to keep the data not on the cloud but within their own environment. So Microsoft supports this kind of model as well, wherein you don't have to push data into a public cloud, but you can create your own cloud, which is on-prem, which is not connected to anywhere, but you still can leverage IoT features, leverage the 5G technology to create an IoT solution. Intelligence. So apart from offering the customers, the scale of a cloud, we also give you features like artificial intelligence in the cloud, which can really help you to modify your IoT application or bring more intelligence to your IoT application, right? To have the right kind of infrastructure created to get you the business benefit. And the last one is trusted. Microsoft platform is trusted. We have 42 certifications, and no other cloud provider has got that many. Now, if I come on the technology piece, let me quickly touch upon that piece, right? So we have IoT priority verticals, wherein we have been spending time and energy to identify the priority verticals. So we have identified manufacturing, retail, agriculture, energy, smart city, healthcare, and transportation as the industry wherein we are seeing more propensity of IoT. But this list is the priority verticals for us. We are not saying that other industry may not adopt it, like construction industry, huge IoT play. Even financial industry is seeing lots of IoT play these days, right? And Microsoft offers you complete platform in terms of IoT solutions. So we have IoT Central, which is a SaaS-based solution. We also give you reference architecture. So IoT reference architectures are there, which can help you implement IoT using standard architecture by Microsoft in any of the priority solution area I just spoke about. And then we have Dynamics, which is Microsoft Dynamics ERP solution, which can be used as a SaaS solution again to create an IoT scenario. If I drill down to the services, the IoT services that we have huge services available, which can be leveraged, in different kind of scenarios. IoT Hub is one, IoT device provisioning service, then artificial intelligence, machine learning. So you actually can mix and match these services to create an IoT scenario, which is very specific to your industry, right? So what analysts are saying about Microsoft strategy, right? So we have been investing quite a lot in IoT sector for quite some time, and we are a leading player. So all the red dots you are seeing here, which are given by IDC, Microsoft is the top player in IoT industrial scenarios, right? And IDC have rated us very high in comparison to others. Similarly, if you see the data from IDC market space, which is again a red dot here for Microsoft, we are leaders in both the IDC market space as well as Forrester's Wave, right? So, this brings me to the last thing, but I would like to leave you with the thought that, IoT is picking up, networks are strong, Microsoft Cloud is very strong in terms of giving you that scale. We just have to look for those opportunities wherein we can automate certain things using these sensors, which are really advantageous in terms of bringing the operational cost down and maybe raising the profitability for you. So that was all from my side, and thank you very much for being with me in this IoT journey. I will pass it on to Jeffrey now, and he will take us through some interesting technology advancement that his company is doing. Thank you.
Wow, isn't that exciting? Every time when I watch that video, it just sends chills to me. Just wondering if you can see my slide here. Yep. All right. Let me move. So thank you everyone for having me here, and especially Gavin from Cloudify for inviting me to this event. And thank you for Dev from Microsoft to have me here as well. I'm really excited to hear about how the world is going to be in the coming years. Now, today I'm going to do a breakdown of a few parts of my sharing. I think the first part is really drawing a lot of insight and bringing down to the understanding. Second part, and finally, is really about how your business can be part of this IoT journey, right? The first thing is that I want to share is that don't miss the flying car, right? I know we all are Malaysian, we all laugh about flying car, right? Yeah, originally we will always say don't miss the train, but I would say don't miss the flying car, all right? And this graph shows that we are at the pivotal point, where we have crossed the mark where there are more devices than human. And the next 5 years, we are going to see an exponential growth in terms of the number of IoT devices that needs connectivity and needs to stay connected at all time. And that's where Flexiroam is really passionate about, because the vision of our company is to connect the world with infinite possibilities. And we call ourselves the super connector for any applications in any part of the world, and for people and machines to live, learn, and leverage, right? And you can see, between 2020 to 2025, it is expected that there will be 30 billion devices, and these IoT devices are excluding the connected cars, the smart home devices, and industrial equipment, but it's including the connected cars, smart home devices, and the connected industrial equipment, and not the smartphones and the laptops and computers, right? So if you realize that the telcos around the world now are really thinking about how can we have a bigger highway, a wider highway, right, to accommodate such amount of devices connecting in. And that's where I think players like Microsoft, Amazon, and even Cloudify are really putting a lot of thought in terms of how to be able to facilitate such scale. And in my history of being in the telco industry, right, there's a few times where you have this kind of exponential growth, and each time when it happens, it changes the world, right? And we all know that when the time where we used to have SMS, when SMS first came out, right, and the adoption curve was huge, and SMS has really changed the way we communicate. Then we have the WhatsApp coming in, and the 3G, where you can have internet on your mobile phones, right? And then you have a huge adoption, and every business is no longer the same. And this is where we are today, right? In 2020, for the next 5 years, we are going to see a massive change, right, in terms of how are we going to do our business. And that's what they call the industrial revolution, right? So when you talk about the revolution, this is real revolution. So we are at the IR 4.0, and all of us are part of this revolution. So IoT is not something new. It's just that at this inflection point, it will bring a huge transformation in terms of how we do our business. Just a quick snapshot about the IR 4.0, right? I took this from the government website, right? Because and the IR 1.0 is where they talk about really about mechanization, steam, and power. 2.0 is production. 3.0 is automation, and 4.0 is really about virtualization and putting all your physical system into the cloud, and allowing them to scale at a rapid pace, right? But I will make it very simple. I think the 1.0 is really about productivity. It's about how we can actually produce something without using our hands. And I would say 2.0 is where we are really looking for efficiency and effectiveness, right? We're trying to produce the same thing over and over again with a good quality and allowing machines to do that. 3.0 was really about getting it out fast, about speed. It's about really rolling out in scale, right? But I would say 4.0 is about really focusing a lot on predictive. It's about knowing what your customer want before they actually come for it, right? And that is actually beyond a human capability, right? We cannot be able to predict and ingest that amount of data to be able to come out with the most accurate prediction in making business decisions, right? And with the new revolution that is coming, right, it spins off a new economy, and hence all of us will have to adopt new business model, right? One example is BMW, right? Today, BMW is really adopting IoT, right, to change their business model. It's no longer just buying the car, and that's the only option that you can get, but really they can actually put IoT, they put sensors in the car, they can rent you the car, you don't have to buy one off, you can subscribe for it. They know when to maintain, like what Dev said, the predictive maintenance, they know how the car condition is. If you drive the car and you don't pay your bill, they know where to find you. That's a lot of components, IoT components inside a car, and connectivity is needed at all time, right? So if you drive the car to Singapore, right, you need to know that the car is in Singapore. If you drive the car to Thailand, they need to know that the car is in Thailand, right? And that's where players like Flexiroam will be able to help in ensuring that there will be a high availability, secured connectivity in any part of the world, right? Now, I want to share one of my potential customers that I'm working on right now, a project with him, and they are a dustbin manufacturer together with an engineering firm. They are trying to produce dustbin as a service, and this is not something new, right? It's adopted in many places, like in Korea. It's very common. This manufacturer currently is a Malaysian manufacturer, right? I find that they are really innovative, right? They are thinking about how they can compress the dustbin to be able to maximize the space in the dustbin, reduce the amount of time that it needs to be transported out. And then it has the capability of kind of like anti-terrorism sensors around. They can actually monitor who is around, what's going on. And then they have the waste management solution built on top of it, whereby they reduce the amount of carbon footprint to collect this dustbin. They can measure it. And the best of all is that they have changed their business model from just building a dustbin and sell it, but they have tweaked their business model into a subscription mode for the city council. So they bring efficiency, they bring cost saving, they reduce the carbon footprint, huge impact to the environment, And another example I want to give is another customer of mine is also a Malaysian manufacturer. They manufacture water heater and water filter. So basically, the innovation is that instead of carrying the water bottles, which we all do now, right? You have this machine or this device in your office. You have to pay someone to filter the water in a factory, and then they carry the water to you, and then they put it on top of the machine, and then you dispense the water out. What they are building is that you can actually have a machine that connects straight to your water pipe. They will filter the water, and they can heat up and chill the water directly. And it has an IoT component in it where it knows when you need to change the water filter. It tracks in terms of how much of carbon that you have reduced by using their technology, and they're exporting it to Europe, right? So they've changed the business model from just selling you a water filter, or you have people going there and replacing the water, to something that is just on a subscription basis, right? So they are charging on a subscription basis, on a recurring basis to their end customers. So these are just two very simple example that what Malaysian company manufacturer is capable to do, right? I'm really excited to be in this part of the world. And for you, right? I think 6 main things that you probably are already familiar in your business. You already have some level of customer insights. You probably have some data. You obviously differentiate yourself in terms of a competitor, in terms of how the customer experience to be, and the speed going to the market strategy, in terms of your operation, your cost, and the risk and regulation in your business. But take some time, to think about whether which of this area in your business, right, that potentially with the adoption of IoT would accelerate your business growth, right, and bring you a significant impact, 10 times to your business potential, right? Like what Dev shared, how was it Rolls-Royce 1% reduction in terms of fuel consumption will translate into a huge amount of a bottom line to their end customer, right? I've shared with you the example as well in terms of how the BMW, have changed the entire customer experience, right? From just buying the car and then you have to service the car regularly at their service center to a subscription business where you are carefree, right? You just pay every month, and they actually have ability to track your user experience and have a better customer journey, right? For the end customers. So these are some of the key areas that you may want to think about and iron out and maybe list down and write down and go back and brainstorm with your people, right? What are the areas that if we will be able to adopt IoT, right, it will actually bring a huge impact to our business, and that is what IR4 is all about. Now, you're not going to do this together because Flexiroam, it is our vision and it's our passion, right, to make that happen. Every once in a while, there will be a new technology come and changes everything. And it's Flexiroam's dream, right, to power all the future smart devices, not using a bunch of plastic SIM cards, because we do have a lot of new technologies. We work with partners like ARM, all the European standards company to bring forth a new connectivity experience to you. So when you build these smart devices or smart applications, we can embed the connectivity in it and allows you to roll out and scale up very fast and bring a big, so that you can focus in terms of running the new business model using IoT. A few major key principles of Flexiroam is that, number one, we are global. Today, Flexiroam, we have connectivity with more than 580 mobile network operators around the world. So you don't have to worry whether it's 2G or 3G or 4G or 5G, right? As long as you are at some G, right? We have served 500,000 customers worldwide. And we are not a telco per se, because we are not an infrastructure owner. We work with the infrastructure owner. So we operate on an asset-light model. We ride on their infrastructure, but we singularize, we virtualize the connectivity and bring it to an easy experience for our customers. So that if any of the device manufacturer today were to manufacture their device, the last thing they need to think about is connectivity. But connectivity becomes a very important part because all your processing power and all your data collection is going to be on the cloud. You need connectivity to facilitate that. But hang on, Flexiroam is here to help you to do that, and we'll be able to integrate and connect you with all the necessary suppliers or solutions that need to ensure that your business will run well. Third principle that we have is that we always focus on recurring revenue. Every services and partners that we have, we are always thinking about long term. We always want you to win so that we can win together. And finally, we do believe that the future is going to be digital. So we always try to go into business where we are able to scale fast without having to involve huge amount of capex or investment on our side. Two verticals that we have done within ourselves to showcase to the world that we are capable of doing it. One is, of course, Flexiroam Travel. I think that's where Gavin has come to know about Flexiroam. We have partnered with Apple and MasterCard. So today, 500 million of all Apple devices, be it iPad or iPhones, you can just download a Flexiroam app and activate data instantly in anywhere around the world. You can use and you can buy your data plans. You have up to 800 over data plans inside. It gives a frictionless connectivity to the end customers, providing them a very, very good user experience. Especially in the post-COVID-19, a lot of us will probably not want to queue up at the booth to buy SIM cards, right? If you want to travel with your family or friends, this is the one, right? You got to download in your phone now. If you are using Apple devices, good for you. If you are not, we still have an alternative solution for you, right? Second vertical that we have really embarking on is really partnering with the point of sale providers, right? There is a huge revolution happening in the food industry, as you know. Many of you during COVID-19 will probably have been ordering food from your mobile phone, right? Little did you know that a lot of restaurants now are relying on this device for business, right? All the orders that come in will be facilitated, and they probably have 4 or 5 devices in front of the cashier table. If you go to any restaurant now, right, one is for takeaway, some is for retail payment. So this particular device becomes a very important element to a lot of F&B business. And obviously, we have an opportunity to partner with some of these device manufacturers to embed our connectivity in the rollout, so that the merchant, when they get it, they just need to put on the merchant app and they get connectivity immediately, right? A lot of these devices are running on Android. So, you know, with Android, you have the capability of eSIM, which is embedded SIM. You don't need a physical SIM card. You just download an app, you turn it on, it has a 4G or 5G connectivity instantly, right? It allows the payment providers or the food app players to collect more data, right, in terms of where the device is and how their merchant perform. Because of these applications, you know, Flexiroam has built a really proprietary engine. We call it the Core, C-O-R-E. It's a centralized engine that aggregates all mobile networks around the world. Serve any kind of customers on top of us, right? So we virtualize the global mobile network coverage into a singular platform, right? We provide and deploy contactless SIM enablement so that you don't have to keep a lot of SIM cards as an inventory, as whether you are a manufacturer or you are implementing IoT projects. You just need to have our codes our code embedded into your application. You'll be able to deploy connectivity almost instantly. We can customize the connectivity for security purposes, and it's really easy for your developer or your solution partner to deploy our connectivity in your applications, right? And we are here to collaborate. We are very excited and passionate to work with you. We can do 2 different business models. One is actually just building and providing you the technology to allow you to scale. We are very flexible in terms of our revenue model. We can do subscription or revenue sharing model. Alternatively, we are also looking at a potential businesses that we can strategically invest and win together in that segment or that vertical, right? As long as it's aligned with our GUARD principles, right? Which is global, asset-light, recurring, and digital. That's about it. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have enjoyed. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop in the chat box. I'll try my best to address you. Thank you. Back to you, Gavin.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. I learned a lot of new things today, right? I think one of the couple of key things that we're learning is that dustbin also can have IoT, right? It's really inspiring, and then it's coming from locally here, right? It's not something from other country. It is something inspiring, right? Especially when climate concern, recycling concern, and maximizing efficiency, right? And you wanted to reduce people to collect the rubbish, right? So we cannot take things for granted now. And those are really fantastic use cases. I also learned a lot on 5G from Devendra, and then I'm so excited to hear Microsoft is really on the leading edge, right? And of course, recent announcement by Mr. Satya Nadella also excite me, where Microsoft Azure, right, putting a lot of solution investment at the edge of intelligence computing, right? Something that is very dear to Microsoft, something that is very dear to us as well. Very, very exciting. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any question, feel free to let us know your question. I think we got one question from Jenny in regards to any particular use cases for financial industry, right? Dev, you want to answer that question? Maybe some of the ideas that you have?
Yeah,
great.
Dev,
Or
yeah,
Jeff,
sorry.
sorry,
Dev,
after you.
Dev. Yeah, I
Dev. Okay, Devendra, you want to answer?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that. I think that's an interesting question, and IoT is actually picking up pace in financial industry for sure. And I'll give you some very, very basic, which every one of us have actually experienced is, say, an ATM machine, right? So bank used to invest, or bank invests quite a lot of money in terms of identifying the right place of placing the ATM machines. And these machines are actually, adds on to the cost and the operation factor also. And the banks have to also see that whether these ATM machines are being properly used or not, right? And the security concerns around that. So IoT can play a very, very interesting role here, because you can actually put the sensor, you can track the number of ATM users in a particular area, and then based on that you can plan it well. So if you are seeing an ATM machine is placed in an area wherein your bank is paying the rent and there are number of users are pretty low, you can actually move it somewhere else. So that kind of intelligence can be secured or can be obtained from an IoT sensor, which is placed in ATM kind of environment. So this is one way. The other way wherein we are seeing a good amount of traction is, and lots of new innovation is happening, specifically in a financial segment, because financial segment is pretty security conscious center, right? Nobody wants to lose money, right? So giving payment using facial recognition, maybe a voice also, right? So these things are coming up. I have seen few stores in US wherein you don't have to pay by your card. As soon as you enter the store, you pick up the stuff, you go out, and the payment is done, right? This is all coming with the help of IoT and the strong network, which is through 5G, right? So, and then massive amount of computing, massive amount of intelligence, which is coming from the backend systems, right? Which is on the cloud. So all these three components can really help financial segment to come out with innovative solution, which makes the life easy for everyone, right? I would never like to, pay when I enter a store, and that would be a fantastic thing for me. I just pick up the stuff, go out, and payment is done, maybe by using my facial or IoT or whatever. Yeah. So these are some of the use cases which are pretty picking up pace. Same way in insurance industry, right? Insurance industry, and if I take the example of, say, home management or home insurance, or possibly a vehicle insurance, right? So if those sensors, those IoT devices or equipments are placed in the car, which can send the real-time data to a centralized server wherein the insurance company can monitor whether the car was overspeeding when a possible accident happened, and accordingly they can actually fine-tune how much insurance has to pay to be paid, right? So there are so many use cases, and you can automate with good amount of intelligence into your applications and the solution that you want to implement. Yeah.
Thank you, Devendra. I think that is eye-opening for me, right? You see, we used to go to ATM and take cash, right? That we are taking things for granted now, but the post-pandemic reality is that people still go to ATM and take cash, right? But there are a lot of other consideration that we never think before, right? Whether it could be security, people distancing, and many items, right? Whether it could be maintenance of the machine, right? And then stuff like that. Is the cash low or not? The cash, is it enough? Do I need to send people to top up the cash, or maybe collect the cash from cash deposit machine? All those stuff is very important. Especially when ATM machine need to be much more smarter, right? I think that is a fantastic use case. We have another question. I think this one will be addressed to Jeffrey, right? It's regards to share with us some of the priority investment, right, to look into before going into IoT environment, right? I think a lot of people, when they want to start a new initiative, they're looking what kind of investment I needed, what kind of stuff I wanted to think and brainstorm, right? I think you are very familiar to help businesses to organize, and then Jeff, you have very interesting business models, something that hold dear to us as well, subscription and recurring. Can you share with us to some of the business owner here, right? How do they wanted to start when it comes to investment?
Yeah, I think I shared a slide, particularly on one slide about there are 6 areas that within your business that you are really familiar with, and then you got to think about whether are there room for the way it's being run now, change it by adopting some of the technology that you have in the cloud, right? Whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's analytics, collecting more data, whether it's be able to do predictive maintenance, whether it would bring forth a very different customer user experience, or moving to a way where it's a subscription basis rather than a one-time purchasing. So those are some of the areas that you need to evaluate in that slide that I've shared previously. I don't know whether the audience have it, but feel free to have it if you want to. I think that 6 components, it's important, for you to actually dive deep and go into it. And I always believe that you need to start small. So like I said, the IoT, it's not something that, it's just, the energy is very simple, right? Do you buy a car first when the highway is there? Or do you buy a motorbike and start driving on a small road first, right? And my answer is actually just get a motorbike and start driving. And if you don't have a motorbike, you get a bicycle, you start cycling, right? And when the highway will come, right? I think it's very clear that the government has said that 5G is the way to go. They're going to build a highway, and everywhere around the world is building the highway to accommodate that 30 billion devices. So if you don't do it, right? If your competitor do it, will it still be okay? Or you feel that if you do it, you will give you a significant advantage compared to how you're going to compete in the market, right? I think those are the very important questions that you need to bring upon and ask in the different aspects of your business, which you probably know much more than any of us. But where we are today and where Flexiroam is a super connector. So if you have a very clear answer that, look, if I'm able to predict this, if I'm able to save this much or bring this kind of efficiency in this area of my business, it will give me a significant advantage over my competitors in the market. There you go. Basically you have all the technology that you need today to be able to accomplish, and as well as taking you there further, right, down the road for the next 5 years.
Thank you, Jeff. So I think one thing that I learned is that go and try first, right? You cannot wait until the highway is being built and then you become a laggard of the adoption of technology, right? I think it's the same case with Microsoft. We have seen Microsoft invest in many billions of dollars into some of the items that the world may not be ready today, for example, but after being built, and then it's impressive to able to use. I always told my team member that, hey, go and start first and try first. The people here are here to help, right? Especially if you can see from a Malaysian landscape, my digital blueprint, and of course the 5G platform is the policies already being rolled out. It's going to be executed. If you don't start and brainstorm now with your team members, say what else I want to do, leveraging of 5G, leveraging IoT, right? And then it will be too late, because your competitor, not only for Malaysia, right? Your competitor for other countries will be tapping in, right? One example which Carify Asia is doing in terms of IoT is that we actually build IoT private preview for some of the telco and also some of the governments. You actually can have IoT hub, right, in your particular data centers and in particular cloud, and connected back to public cloud Azure for much more processing need, right? So that is something that is already doable, and then Carify Asia is helping a lot of government is building that today, right? I cannot share a bit more details, but I'm telling you that we are doing it today. Got one interesting question I want to address to our dear Microsoft friend, is that how about security, right? Because you're talking about security, you're talking about cloud, and then you're talking about data collection, right? And then people are very concerned about security, and then we can see that one of the priority investment in Southeast Asia region is security. Devendra, can you share with us how do Microsoft handle on security, especially on this aspect?
Okay, so I just typed an answer in the chat box as well, right? So security, we actually take it very seriously, right? And it is an important aspect, right, in any industry or in any kind of use case. Now, what actually happens is, so first is the security of data transit, when the data is in transit, right? And when the data is at store, right? So when we talk about data in transit, all the IoT devices use a PKI infrastructure in the backend, right? Now that PKI, and it's a certificate-based authentication which happens in the backend. So no other device can actually pump in data into your data stream and maybe modify the parameters, right? So that encryption mechanism is already there in place. So when you enroll a device into an IoT solution with, say, on Microsoft Azure, there will be an exchange of encryption key that happen. And this Microsoft backend will only accept the data from that particular device. So you cannot circumvent the policy and introduce a new device and maybe change, or fudge the things. So that is the first level of security that happens. Second is, when the data, the IoT sensor data is stored on Microsoft platform, it is all encrypted. So you have the option to encrypt that data so that nobody else can actually see it, right? So that's another layer of security. At the IoT device OS level itself, we have a software called Defender, which is meant for specifically for IoT devices. And you can actually use that as well, which will protect you from any other misconfigurations or any other malicious attack happening on that particular IoT sensor also. So I'm talking about a layered security approach wherein your sensor is secured, the communication to the backend system is also secure, and when you store the data, that also is pretty secure. So these are the mechanisms wherein you can actually build a good secure environment using IoT and Microsoft products. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for wonderful sharing. Right? I think I personally learned a lot today. Right? Definitely, we have the expert here on the floor. Right? We have reached the end of the session webinar today. Right? Okay, we have one more question from Eric. For IR 4.0, many manufacturing companies and production factories actually located in a secluded and rural area with limited coverage, right? Can Flexiroam offering solve this internet connectivity issue, right? For example, it could be plantation manufacturing where the connectivity may not be so good. So Jeff, how do you able to address these particular challenges for Flexiroam?
Yep, we're going to look at the scenario, but potentially we could, primarily because Flexiroam is a telco agnostic platform, right? We don't only work with a single mobile operator. So today we have different kind of mobile operator, different type of connectivity connected to our platform, right? Where we will then provide a single source to you and helping you to aggregate all the different types of connectivity to make sure that connectivity is there. Right, that could be one potential that we are able to solve. In fact, that is one of the primary thing that we've been doing over the years. The key value proposition of Flexiroam is always in these 3 C's. First is coverage, second is convenient, and third is control. So coverage, today we are always expanding geographically. We have almost literally covering every part of the world. We are also looking at the air, land, and space. Sea, land, and space, right? So we are trying to look at satellite connectivity as well as to cover for our cruise customers who are actually on the cruise, or projects that are like offshore kind of projects. So potentially we could do get connected, and I'll see how I can help you in any way. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Just to add what Jeffrey said, and in the interest of time, I will take 30 seconds on this topic. This is interesting, close to my heart. Microsoft is investing quite a lot on this. So in such scenarios wherein the internet is very low and you really have to manage a manufacturing plant or something like that, or even an agriculture thing, you can think of edge computing, wherein the internet connectivity or your main machine or where the intelligence is being built will only be connecting to the main server once in a while. But you can build that intelligence at the edge itself, so that all the processes can happen there, and once in a while the policies can be enforced from a central server if the connectivity is an issue. So edge computing is a good use case, a good IoT use case for such kind of scenario. And what Jeffrey actually mentioned, that will contribute to both the things and can actually build a good scenario out of it. Yeah,
and I also want to highlight that that 5G is the future, but like I said previously, right, you don't have to wait until 5G, then only you start adopting IoT, right? I will tell you that today, as of to date, the most stable kind of a connectivity for IoT deployment is still 3G, right? Not even 4G, right?
Yeah.
3G is the most amount of IoT devices connected to in terms of the network wise, right? So you don't need to wait until 5G, then only you start thinking about IoT, but you start doing it even at 3G, use other means of protocol or other ways to get your device connected. SMS is actually very reliable, but it's very insecure as well. But there's many other ways to actually start small. And as you scale up and as you really moving up into a more massive kind of rollout, and hopefully by then the Malaysia infrastructure for 5G is mature, then you will be able to latch on to that network and then kind of have a different level kind of a scale.
Thank you so much to Jeffrey and also Devendra, right? Just to add on, I concur with Microsoft that has a lot of investment in, and Clarify Asia is one of the very few partners that participate in AI on the edge, right? We are looking for customers and company that's going to do the POC with Microsoft here, right, under the private preview. So if you have any use case on AI on the edge, on the latest and greatest Microsoft technology, which just launched a couple of weeks ago, right? Do contact me personally, right? We need to sit down with you to go through that particular use case, right? And fantastic. Yeah, we are running out of a big time now, right? Yeah, so that is fantastic. Thank you for joining, and please take the survey before you left, right? I really appreciate that your time given. We have spent a lot of time to prepare this and money to prepare this, so we hope that at least you can give us a bit of feedback. We would love to hear from you. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Devendra, and of course, thank you, sponsorship from Microsoft and Ripe to bring this to you. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Devin. Bye.
Bye.